The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
All right, everybody, and welcome to episode 96 of the 9 Years podcast, the independent AFC Wimbledon audio fanzine. It is Thursday, the 24th of August, 2017, and I am Nick Draper, welcoming not only you, our beautiful listeners, to the show this week, but also welcoming back Crawley's number one Ray Wilkins tribute act, Mr. Stuart Deacons. Stu, how are things?
I'm very good, thank you very much. Had a week off, so relaxed, chilled. Yeah, not really, still done all the same things really, but yes, I'm glad to be back.
We're glad to have you back. Back for a very, very exciting edition of the podcast this week, as we'll be talking to Jon Main. We're going to catch up with Jon. We haven't spoken to him for about a year now, have we? Just before the playoff final at Wembley we last spoke to him, so we'll be catching up with Jon, seeing what he's up to, and revisiting some Conference South and conference memories with him. We'll also be looking ahead to the week's action and the visit of Doncaster Rovers, Abdou, and a glance across the division as well. But let's start with our trip to Fleetwood Town. And here is my big question to start off with this week, Stu. If Dean Parrott is not doing the job that Neil Lardley wants him to do in our 4-3-3 system, why don't we just change the system to accommodate what is surely one of our most talented attacking players?
Yeah, I think it's the big question. I think it's going to be the ongoing subject this season. It's going to probably divide opinion between fans, I reckon, because I think you're not far wrong with that. My personal opinion is I don't think you change a formation to suit one player. I think I'd rather have a team that can fit into a formation, which then begs the other question, do we have the players to fit into a 4-3-3? I think with Dean Parrott, nothing's really changed. In the early part of the season, nothing's changed from what if you look at the end of last season. So what I mean by that is I looked at the stats and Dean Parrott played 42 games, was involved in 42 games last year, and only 14 of those did he play 90 minutes. So in 13 of those he was introduced as a sub, and in 15 he was benched, which suggests to you that his consistency levels are just not there, or what Neil Ardley wants him to do are not there. And if you look at the start of this season already, it's very much a similar situation where he's not getting any regular time. And I just wonder whether Dean Parrott is a Neil Ardley player. I don't know whether he can now trust him to do what he needs to do. But to answer your question, no, I wouldn't change the formation for one player, but I would change the formation if we continue not to get any results.
But you say there, last season he had 42 appearances and only, a third of those full 90 minutes? But he still created more assists than any other player, still weighed in with a fair number of goals last season. So why don't you? If you've got a player that's struggling to do the defensive side of the game, you've got a very talented player going forward. So why not think, why am I asking him to do this? To give you a teaching analogy, if I have a child that is struggling to understand a concept or complete a piece of work because they don't quite have the skill set, I don't ask them to do that because that's not what they're best at doing. And sure, it's maximising your skills of what you have.
Yeah, I agree. I think the difference is that you can't kick a child out, whereas Neil Ardley can kick a player out.
Oh, I can do, trust me. Often through the window.
Which always makes good sense if you're on a first or second floor.
I am actually, yeah, second floor.
I ain't kidding. But Dean Parrott's, for me, I've seen him already. I saw him pre-season, saw enough in pre-season to suggest to me that I didn't believe anything's changed. He wants to do all the stuff going forward, but in a 4-3-3, I don't believe he has the defensive nous to play that system. I think he's always looking to get forward. I think he's been a bit slow sometimes. And whereas people are going, but you've got to play him because he's our most creative player, I don't always buy that. I'd rather have workhorses in my team that are going to stick and make us compact in that midfield area, especially in a 4-3-3, which I suppose is why George Frank at the moment, he's love him or hate him, but I think he's the most stable player in that midfield. Yes, he's not going to get you goals from that midfield area, but he can stick to a system. Dean Parrott, I just feel at the moment, I'm not convinced that Neil Ardley trusts him enough or feels that he can change him enough. And Neil Ardley won't spend time. He wants you to adapt to his system. He's done that with players before then. The forwards that haven't played the game, that haven't played the way he wants to, he's shipped out. So you're right, but I'm not so convinced that we should be changing things just for one player.
So what do we do then? I'm just thinking, you're talking there about the system being nice and compact and you want your workhorses there to do the defensive side of things, but you look at our 3 games so far, failed to score in the last 2, lost the last 2 in the league. So what is going wrong? And with all that defensive solidity, isn't translating at the moment into results and hasn't done for quite a while now, stretching back all the way through April last season, where we didn't score a single goal.
Yeah. And do you know what? We have pigeonholed ourselves a little bit with players we've bought to the formation we're going to play. Not having a target man, I go on about it every week, but I seriously believe you have to have something different. And for a Wimbledon team not to have a target man, or even a League One team to not have a target man, I don't know many teams that we will face this year that won't have a actual recognised lump or target man over 6'1" or whatever. Does a 4-3-3 work? Not with the fullbacks that we've got, I don't believe.
Is that because of the individuals?
Yeah.
Or is that just because of the system? So you're saying that the system doesn't suit Callum Kennedy or Barry Fuller?
I don't believe it. I think you have to be a very good defender, but you also have to... You're not going to... When you play a 4-3-3, for all the best will in the world, you're wired of those players. So if you think about how we normally play, at Scunthorpe, you had George Franklin playing the right of the three, and you had Liam Trotter playing the left of the three, and then Jimmy would sit. But what you're looking at is when you lose a ball, you're looking really for Liam Trotter to get over to Kennedy and help him out, and then you're also looking the same with George Franklin. But a lot of our goals are coming from breakdowns. So a lot of the time, actually, they're out of position. So you won't... When
you say breakdowns, you mean where we've caught in possession,
yeah.
Somebody hasn't suddenly just sat down in the middle of the pitch and bawling their eyes out because everything in their life is going wrong.
No, and there's sometimes, Kwesi Appiah was guilty of it, trying to go down for free kicks that weren't free kicks, or trying to win free kicks, breaking down, players out of position, and all of a sudden you haven't got a cover. Whereas a 4-4-2, you can be a little bit more stable because you've actually got designated wide players. So, for Yarman, George Franklin would be one, Andy Bartram would be the left. But they wouldn't be the one, they would be able to sit and give you protection. I don't believe Callum Kennedy's best quality is defensively. I think Jonathan Meades is better in that sense. And you have to say, I think Barry Fuller's come back looking fitter, stronger, but it's a tough division. And at the moment, a lot of the goals have been coming round about his areas and Robbo's areas, and they're facts. They're not me going that I think they're getting too old or anything. That's facts. The goals that come can be contributed down to our wide areas, and especially right-hand side.
So the front three, or the two wide men in the front three, do they then have to be doing more then? Is that what you're saying? Do they need to tuck in more?
Well, they're judged on goals now, aren't they? So, Bartram is judged on goals and assists. He's now not a wide midfielder. He's now a left of a three up front. So he has to be judged realistically on what he does in the final third, realistically. And at the moment, he's got no goals, he's got no assists. They're the stats. And I think he's been taken off twice. But equally, last year, if you remember properly, we literally used to play, sometimes we played Tom Elliott and Dom Polion for 60 minutes and then sub them, because actually what we wanted to do was to work really hard for 60 minutes and then bring Lyle on or bring Tyrone on and stuff. So that was actually a ploy. That might be what Neil Ardley does. He has done that before. So it could be a case that Barch is not being benched as such for not performing, but we're going to bring our subs on. But yeah, it's all the formation side of it. My worry is that we need our best players to come back. Darius Charles, Jonathan Meades, even Tom Saw's coming into it, but they're a little way off yet. So if we continue with the formation and we don't have the personnel to play it, then that concerns me.
One of the other things concerning a few people is the apparent lack of pace in the team. We've mentioned Andy Bartram, arguably one of our paciest players, but you wouldn't say he's as quick as he was when he first joined. How do we combat that lack of pace?
Difficult. But then when you think about it, did we have loads of pace before? So the players we've lost Dom Polion? Yes, loads of pace, agree with that. But then we've also, if you think about replacements-wise, we brought in Kwesi Appiah. Could that be a like-for-like, pace-wise? I think Kwesi can motor, realistically. I don't think there's an awful lot of difference between them, pace-wise. I think the biggest thing we're seeing, and we've probably not said this, actually, because we probably don't want to say, well, we told you so, but actually the player we are missing the most is Jake Reeves in that midfield area, because he was like a Duracell battery. He would last for 90 minutes and he would play the same pace for 90 minutes. And people kept saying he doesn't read the game, but actually the energy levels in that midfield, he could play a 4-3-3 easily, because his energy levels would mean he would get on the ball. Yeah, defensively he wasn't always the greatest, I accept that, but he made things happen and he got from box to box and he was busy. We missed that player, because if you look at the midfield, Liam Trotter, Jimmy Abdou, George Frankham, Anthony Hartigan, they are not blessed with pace. And
I guess as well, we've got a whole new central midfield.
Yeah.
If you think last season, if we had a three, it was going to be at the end of the season, Jake Reeves, Danny Ballman, Tom Stores. So Tom Stores is still injured. Jake and Danny have left us. And we haven't had a consistent three this season yet, have we? Because of injuries and various other reasons. So I guess that all plays into it, I suppose. What do you think, talking about centre midfielders or players that can play in that centre, that three, Alfie Egan, where does he sit in the squad now? He seems to have been usurped by Anthony Hartigan. Something you said you thought was likely to happen after seeing pre-season. What do we expect from Alfie this season, if anything?
Yeah, well, I said pre-season that Anthony Hartigan stole a march on him easily. Every time he got game time, he looked decent. And it wasn't to say that Alfie played poorly. It just was that Anthony Hartigan shone so much in the games. And what it's basically done now is that, Alfie has had 2 substitute appearances, whereas Anthony's had 2 starts. And there's your differences at the moment. So Alfie isn't always even making the squad also. So he didn't make the squad for the 2 away games, which maybe suggests does he want him just for home games at the moment? I think Alfie just needs to keep doing what he's doing. I thought when he come on against Brentford for the extra time or the sort of late on the game and extra time, I thought he did very well. So I don't think there's anything wrong with what Alfie's doing. The problem he's got is that someone else now from the academy has stolen a march on him and actually is now starting to maybe progress quicker than what he is. But it doesn't mean that Alfie now needs to be looking over his, looking for a move or a loan or anything. I think he just needs to keep in there, keep listening, keep learning, keep growing because he's getting bigger and his chance will come. It's difficult to know with Alfie. He's quite a team player, isn't he, and stuff like that. But he must rattle his cage a little bit that he's got, Anthony Hartigan stolen a march. But how long do you keep Anthony Hartigan going to be keeps on playing like this at 17 years old?
Yeah, but it's also no bad thing, is it? If you're Alfie Egan, to have somebody, competition, always helpful, isn't it? And if you've got someone that's going to push you on to even better or work even harder or whatever, then that can only be a good thing. Final thing to sum up the Fleetwood game, really, I want to speak to you about is, okay, so we're winless. We've only picked up 1 point from our first 3. We're still a point better off than we were this time last year. We have lost to 2 of only 4 teams in the division who have 100% records. So are we worrying a little bit too much at this stage?
Possibly. This stage of season, though, no one really... I don't think anyone should ever look at a league table unless you're top in the first 10 games. Of course, you didn't say you're top. But equally, if you're in the bottom half after 10 games, that's when you sort of roughly start looking. So really now, what are we? We're 3 league games in. Shrewsbury, we don't know now whether that is... Are Shrewsbury going to be this season's Fleetwood?
No.
We don't know, do we? But realistically, that looks to me like a 6-pointer that we've lost. Fleetwood, I still don't think they gave us a great season they had last year. Again, could be wrong, but they could be points that actually you write off. Scunthorpe, is that a point gained? Or is it 2 lost? There's a lot of questions at the moment. I think when you look at it, I can only judge it on how we're playing and how we look. And that if we'd lost games and we'd been edged out by the odd goal or been unlucky, I can only say that realistically in the Scunthorpe game where I felt we were unlucky in the second half. The others have gone really how we've played and we haven't really deserved too much out of them. So that's how I would look at it at the moment. I'm not going to worry about too much about the opposition and what they're doing. I think at the moment we need to increase our performance levels and just get a bit of luck. We just need a bit of luck. A goal off the backside of somebody. Just something to set the season up because we need to get a home goal. Need to get all those little things.
Yeah, we're struggling for goals. 1 goal in 842 minutes of league football currently. So that is probably a good link to our 3-word reports this week. Remember, these are on Twitter at 9YRS Podcast if you'd like to get involved. Our choice of 3 this week, Eddie Oliveria at I am Oliveria went, "Where's the goal?" Which I think is fair to say. Where is the goal for us right now? James Anstey at James Anstey went, "Oh my cod," with the Fleetwood pun there, the Cod Army pun. And finally, Chris Long at AFC Womble Long, target man required, something you touched on earlier, Stu. And at time of recording, we still wait to hear if we are getting someone in. But Neil Ardie did say after the game on Saturday that he was hopeful of something happening this weekend, or this week, I should say. So keep your eyes peeled for this. We also asked for your views on our Facebook page this week, facebook.com/9YRS podcast. Jon Manderson said that he thought it might be worth us trying a 4-4-2 with either Cody alongside either Kwesi or Lyle up front. He said for the Fleetwood game, we didn't play that badly, we just didn't play that well either, which is probably a fair summary of the game. It wasn't a great game, was it? Let's be honest. Positives, though, Anthony Hartigan, of course, and Deji Oshalaja, who John picked as his man of the match. But the key thing about what John's told us here, Stu, is what I've been saying to everyone every year that we've been away to Fleetwood. The fish and chips by the away end. The chippy by the away end is the best fish and chips I've ever had, anywhere, ever. If you've not tried it, you need to go there.
I have. I remember a very good story, actually. I say story. I remember getting there and getting my fish and... Well, I say fish and chips. I don't like fish. So I was getting my sausage in batter with chips. And I remember then all of a sudden, this was for the playoff semi-final first leg on a Friday night at Fleetwood. And I remember the unofficial coach putting up outside the fish and chip shop and just seeing all my mates getting off looking a little worse for wear heading into the chippy. It was quite a sight. They've been well fueled.
Imagine the sight they had where they stepped off the coach to see you tucking into a battered sausage.
I bet. But no, do you know what? Carlisle, I think, have got a better fish and chips.
The thing is, Stuart, I've got to stop you there because you're talking about the places that you've had your best fish and chips, whilst also qualifying that statement by saying you don't eat fish.
Yes, so it's not fish and chips.
No.
But what else do you call it? I can't call it sausage and chips, or can I?
Well, yes, because that's what it is.
But our famous English or British cuisine is fish and chips.
It is. You could say the best fish and chip shop you have visited.
Yes,
perhaps.
Maybe that. But the best one for... I think it was actually, it was a typical old chippy, but it was like a kebab and all that sort of stuff. It was actually a midweek game away at Altrincham in the conference, and it was a cold night in September, October.
November.
And November possibly. And I remember getting a pie and chips with gravy. Wow. They were the best ones. I would love to get a cup game, but it has to be midweek, see, so I don't know how we'd work that. But
why would it have to be midweek?
Because the fish and chips would be better when it's colder. So I think it has to be. I think the setting had to be right for that. But those were the best for all the games that I've been to. They were the best fish and chips. But it could be because they were just anything that kept me warm because it was blooming freezing. You're
listening to Catering Weekly with Stuart Deakins and Nick Draper. We're going to change subject now and talk about football instead. God dear me, Stu. What else could we talk about? Wrestling? I mean, come on. Anyway. Elsewhere then on Saturday in League One, what other results stood out to you?
Yeah, so of course, Blackburn winning at Bradford, I thought was quite a big... I think when you think about Blackburn, I thought it might take a couple of weeks for them to really acclimatise to League One, which has happened. However, winning at Bradford, that's a massive win. Sends a very big statement to the league, because Bradford obviously one of the favourites along with Blackburn, and I think it probably will settle them down now, which is great because we visit there in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, we visit them just in time for them to have actually settled into this division, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, because obviously their last home game before that, they got dumped 3-1 by our visitors to Kings Meadow on Saturday, Doncaster. So yeah, Peterborough started really well, scoring goals, and they still have Ricky Miller to come back in.
That was my pick of the results, beating Rotherham. Last week we mentioned that Kiefer Moore and Jack Marriott had both scored hat-tricks for Peterborough and Rotherham respectively, or Rotherham and Peterborough respectively, I'd probably say. And they both scored on Saturday. Marriott scored both as Peterborough beat Rotherham 2-1, and Peterborough have started a lot better than I thought they would do. So it'll be interesting to see, with Jack Marriott, formerly of Luton Town, scoring goals, whether they will continue that. And as you say, they've still got Ricky Miller to come back.
Yeah, 6-game ban. And the other one after that was Shrewsbury, who beat Rochdale. So after beating us, and we're not going, like I say, we're not too sure how good was Shrewsbury and how bad were we, but they've carried on their winning form, beat Rochdale, who again had a cracking seasons. So there's some interesting results. I think this being our second season in League One, if you think about this time last year on the podcast, it was very difficult to really get a true picture of League One because we were the new boys. However, now a season in, I think we can judge the league a bit better, and it's taken shape nicely. It's taken shape. So hopefully we just start acclimatising ourselves and get on to some goals.
Hero of the week?
So my hero is the Walsall fan who, when booking up a hotel, we all do it. Oh, let's go see how close can we get to the ground. 11 miles, that sounds about right. Unfortunately, it was on the Isle of Man. What a hero. It makes me fall in love with football fans. Don't need these Premiership fans. Just get the fans who just get totally confused where Pompey is.
It's the Isle of Wight, Stu.
Hello?
No, you said the Isle of Man.
Did I?
Yes. What an idiot. What an idiot. He got his hotel on the Isle of Man.
I wrote it down as well.
Oh dear. Who's your villain of the week?
Oh, sugar. Well, my villain are not just one person, but a group of people, i.e. the English Football League, for allowing the embarrassment that is called the Carabao Cup to somehow take the draw again abroad and broadcast it at the godly hour of 4 o'clock in the morning. What are they doing? It's just... Apparently it was to increase the popularity of the brand abroad. Why not just worry about the people in this country? Why do we have to keep worrying about the brand abroad? Worry about the football fans here and don't make it such a farce.
They're obviously seeing the declining numbers of people attending the early rounds of this competition and thinking, well, the people in England aren't really that bothered about the competition which features their clubs, which are on their doorsteps, but people in Hong Kong, they clearly are going to be far more interested. Give over. Nonsense. My heroes and villains of the week, very, very quickly. Anthony Hartigan, my hero, just because coming into the team and acquitting himself so well. You wouldn't have known he was 17 years of age, looked totally comfortable in that game. My villain, however, the Fleetwood Town PA announcer with, I've not heard it before, possibly it has been played there before, I don't remember, but the music they play after they score, that needs to be sacked off very, very quickly, or I will go up to Fleetwood and I will throw their PA guy out the window alongside many of the children I teach as well.
Do you not feel that's missed, though, at Kings Meadow? We used to play music, didn't we? Do you not think we missed that? Or is that just a cheap gimmick?
Depends what the music is. And in Fleetwood's case, it should never be heard.
Fair point.
You're listening to these fine gentlemen and their new song, One Horse Town. Available now on iTunes and Spotify.
He scored 61 goals in 91 starts for AFC Wimbledon and won 3 promotions in his time at the club. So, although the word legend is somewhat overused these days, we can think of no better way with which to introduce Jon Main. Jon, the last time we spoke with you was in May of 2016, last year, just before the League Two playoff final at Wembley, which you attended. Remind us, who did you travel with that day, and who were you sitting with at Wembley?
I travelled that day with my dad, a couple of my best friends, and a certain Mr. Danny Kedwell, his dad and his kids.
Danny Kedwell, name rings a bell. I can't quite place it at the minute. I'm sure it'll come back to me. But what were your memories of the game? I know there was a great day out before and afterwards and everything, but what was your memories of the actual game itself? Do you think we were deserved winners on the day?
I thought so, yeah. I thought the boys played really well that day and thoroughly deserved their 2-0 victory.
And following that, you just said to us before we started recording that last season you managed to get down to Kingsmeadow for a few games. I believe you were there for the Milton Keynes game.
I was, yes. Atmosphere was rocking.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, atmosphere like that. What games in your time with us when you were playing came closest to that sort of atmosphere, can you remember? Because we did have some huge games down at Kingsmeadow.
Well, for me as a player, I thought the Hornchurch game, the atmosphere that night was something that I've never come across before. So I reckon it was about on par with that for me.
Yeah, that game was rocking. That was when you scored twice that day?
I did score twice, yeah.
There you go, including the one from the halfway line.
I suppose
to set the seal on it.
I suppose it helps if you score.
Yeah, always. But I do actually remember that night. I don't think Stu and I will ever forget that night, actually. In fact, the whole playoff run that season. But that was your first season with us, or half season with us in the Ryman Premier. Your first goal was at Ramsgate. Difficult question to ask, but was Ramsgate the, shall we say, dodgiest ground that you've ever had the pleasure of playing at?
You know, yeah, there was the ground that everyone hated to play against, but I think every time I played, I scored down there, so I didn't mind going down there. And I do remember rightly, my first goal was off my knee from a Tony Finn cross shot, I do believe.
I think I was there that day. Yeah, we got a 1-1 draw, didn't we? And you equalised
that's right,
fairly late on for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you signed for us from Tunbridge Angels, the brief, I guess, from Terry Brown at the time was, we just need someone to score goals because we need to get out of this league. How difficult, though, was it in that league that season? Because that was our third season in the Ryman Premier. It was a real battle. It was really hard for us. And getting out of it was a real struggle. What did it feel like on the pitch at that time? I know you had a little spell out with injury, but did you feel that the level just rose from other teams because they were playing us? Oh,
100%. I was at Tunbridge when I wasn't doing that well in that league. And then, obviously, I made the move over and I could see people's faces in games. It changed. From when I played against Tunbridge, it didn't matter, but when they were playing against us, it mattered a lot more. And the pressure was on big time for us as players and management, and you could feel it. It's tough.
How did you cope initially when you joined us, Jon? Did it take you a little while to get used to the pressures? Because we were in a team, we were in a league that we were expected to go up. Did it take you, obviously coming from Tunbridge to ourselves, did it take you a little while to acclimatise to that expectation level?
Well, I kind of thrive on pressure, so I didn't mind it. Also, a part of me didn't realise how much pressure was on me when you look back now. But at the time, I just loved it, and all I wanted to do was score goals. I think it took me, I can't remember how many I'd played, maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 until I scored. But obviously, once I did score, I was all right.
Yeah, you didn't do too badly for us in the end. I mean, you mentioned that Hornchurch game and the atmosphere. I think we'd failed in the playoffs the previous 2 seasons, and it was the first time we'd had a home playoff game. So the atmosphere was actually rocking. We were so much behind you. We really wanted to get out of that league. Desperate to get out of that league. Did you feel, though, during the regular season sometimes, you talk about pressure, and do you think sometimes we as fans didn't help as much as we perhaps could do? Do you think there was too much expectation from us at times, and that also added a little bit to the difficulty we had?
Well, for me personally, no. For me, I just think it's your club, so you can want what you want for it. But other players and people are different. They take things other way, don't they? But I enjoy things like that. So,
were there any players that joined, Jon, that you noticed straight away that you might have known that were decent players and just didn't get to grips with it? Because I suppose that you're right what you're saying. You know, you thrived on it. You were scoring goals. But did you see players visibly sort of shy away from doing things that you thought they could do in pressure situations?
Absolutely, yes. I'm not going to name any names. Yeah, there was a few that drove me mad, and I did tell a few, but I always saved it for the changing room. Yeah, there was a few. Yeah, I would love to tell you, but.
Were you happy to get involved in the change room and not call players out, but were you a vocal person in the changing room, or were you one to sort of just let, obviously, Terry Brown and so forth say what he needs to say?
No, I wasn't vocal at all, but I've told, I think, 2 or 3 people, which obviously must have pushed my buttons because I don't normally, so for them to do things they've done and made me shout at them. So, but Terry Brown done enough shouting for everyone, really. So yeah,
I'm sure he knows it. I think very soon.
And once we got out of the Ryan Premier, though, I don't know, but I'm going to assume the following season in the Conference South, there probably wasn't many players that would have perhaps annoyed you because we stormed that division. I know we had maybe around November, December time, things weren't as great for us, but certainly we started the season on fire, ended the season on absolute fire. And did you go into that season expecting to finish top of it?
Absolutely not. It was the next step up for me. I'd never played that level. I know there was plenty of players in my team that had, and some hadn't, but I was actually, I remember feeling slightly concerned whether I was good enough for that level. So yeah, winning it was never in my mind. That might have changed after the first day of the season. But
well, I was going to say, if you had any doubts about your ability to score goals at this level, opening day away at Newport, just your 3 goals, just your hat trick on the opening day.
I got subbed off. I could have got a couple more.
You probably could, actually. There are certain games we have in our history as AFC Wimbledon from when we started up again in 2002 all the way through that will forever be in our memory. I've mentioned Hornchurch, definitely one of those. But Newport, I think Stu would agree with me, is certainly one of those. We felt like it had been a long time getting out of the Ryman League, but it was a whole different level in everything. In the professionalism of the league, in some of the grounds we were visiting, it felt like a real step up. Newport was a big game to start with. We all know they're in the Football League now as well. Their aim was to do similar to us. And that was a fantastic day out, apart from the fact it was very, very wet, of course. But did you go into that Newport game? What was Terry telling you going into that game? Was it a case of we can really get at this lot, or was it...
No, I don't remember him saying it. The funny thing was, I saw the fixtures last night in that cup that Leeds were playing Newport, and I remember I just had a flashback of they're playing against Leeds now. But no, I don't remember him saying we can win this. No, that was my first. That was our first overnight stay as a semi-pro footballer, and we had breakfast put on for us. I think I've said this a few times, but I'm never really worried about eating as a footballer because I sort of started late, and they said, breakfast down at 9 that day, and I went and helped myself to a full English buffet, and it was Mickey Aswell who I sat down on his table, and his jaw hit the floor. He's like, "You can't eat that." Like, he had scrambled egg and avocado or whatnot. But anyway, I quickly scoffed it down, and we went to Newport. But I can't remember Terry's team talk, I must admit. But as the game itself, we just totally dominated. It was a strange old day because it was like warm, but yeah, it was just hammering down. The ground was like half stadium, half running track. Wasn't it? I remember what. Yeah,
it was.
It was a strange old day, but yeah, it all worked out.
And you've had a fry up before every single game you've ever played ever since, I suppose. Got to be surely a lucky charm, surely.
Did you find that Terry was trying to change it into it's obviously a semi-professional, wasn't he? But did he try and change it with the players that maybe were joining and stuff like that to get away from maybe not so much eating a full breakfast, but did he try and change it a little bit, becoming a bit more professional? Did he?
Oh, big time, yeah, massively. He was trying to. I think he hated part-time football and stuff like that, so he was trying his hardest. I can assure you that I think when we was in the conference days, we didn't get a buffet option. We just got like chicken and pasta or scrambled egg or something.
All prepared for you.
Yes. So yeah, he desperately wanted that to change, but I suppose you've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
And that season, about what time? It wasn't actually that long into the season. It seems longer, but it wasn't that far into the season when Danny Kedwell arrived. And of course, yourself and Keds take a lot of the credit for our success that season, rightly so. But who else, in your opinion, in that team were really key to how well we did that year?
Top of my head, obviously Jason Goodliff. He was unbelievable. I always say that the day I saw him try and do a 50-50 with his head and someone's foot would always stand out. And if I was ever to write a team down, as much as I love Kedwell, I would always put Goodliff down as my captain just for that instance. I've never seen anyone else try to 50-50 with their forehead. So yeah. And also,
was he similar in the change room, I guess?
Oh, he was absolutely superb. Yeah, he's what you want in your side, 100%. Yeah. Who else? Dwayne Lee. When we were struggling, they got him in, and he sorted us out. Yeah, he had a little thing with Inzi that we didn't like, but he steadied the ship.
What did he offer then? What did he bring in? Was it experience? Was it a cool head? Someone who could just put their foot on the ball and calm things down? Was it that sort of thing?
He was a big boy, and you would be scared of him. But as soon as in the game, we just needed that little bit of a bully in the middle of the park that can control games, and which is exactly what he did, yeah.
It's actually quite interesting. Looking back at the league, there's one game that I remember vividly. I'm just actually trying to see where he ended up finishing in the end. Actually quite far down. But Havant and Waterlooville was probably the first time that I remember the team spending some money, proper money in the league. And I remember them coming down to our place, and I'm just looking through the team now, actually. They had a serious experience in there. They had Gary Elphick, Matt Gray, Paul Booth, who was scoring goals quite a lot at that level, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. But they spent quite a bit of money. I remember we dispatched them at Kings Meadow quite easily at being 3-0. Did that also give you, because Danny coming in was, everyone heard the story, where he come from conference, playing up front his own, but he really did, I felt he actually set a level that actually said we can boss this league. Did he give confidence through the whole team? Not to yourself, you're playing up front with him, but did you actually think we've actually got a player now that actually plays by this level and quite comfortably go through it?
Yeah, definitely. When he turned up at training and you just watched him train, you could see this standing rows. He's like, right, this is what we got to get to now, and everyone had to jump up with him. And what a signing he turned out to be, eh?
Not bad.
Didn't do too bad. No, of course. Having got us out of the Conference South at the first time of asking, then we went up into the National League, and again it started off a little bit like the Kedwell and Main show. To be honest, first game we had everybody's second club, Luton, and you scored.
Yep.
Now, you came on as a sub, I think. You won us the penalty and then scored the penalty that got us the equaliser. We got something like 5 penalties in those first 6 games that season. It seems like every single game we were getting a penalty, and you were swapping duties with Danny at the time. Was it simply a case of toss a coin who takes it, or were you actually the number one penalty taker? And, for example, Kettering away, I think you might have come off before we got the penalty and Kets took over. What was the deal there?
I think I was number one, and there's never in a million years... Oh, if I was on the pitch, I'd have said, go on, I'll let you have one. So, even though how big he is. But no, I must have not been on the pitch. Couldn't have been.
That season we started very strongly and we didn't finish quite as well. But then the following year, Terry put together a really young squad. I think we brought in, Christian Jolly came in, Ryan Jackson, and real pace on those wings and things like that. Eventually, of course, talking about penalties, and Danny Kedwell, of course, he scores the penalty at City of Manchester. You were in the team for about a dozen games, I think you got that season before you left at the end of that year. What was Terry Brown saying to you during that season about your role in the squad?
Well, I could sort of see in the pre-season that I knew it was going to be my last year because of the formation he was playing, the players he was bringing in. And I remember I worked my socks off that pre-season just to try and change my game, because he wanted the 4-3-3, and obviously Kedwell was going down the middle, so the one either side would have had to track up and down all game, which I've never done or never needed to do in my life. So I remember I tried so hard. I actually think I had a quite good pre-season that year season, and I just couldn't quite do the same when the league started. And as you say, 12 appearances and no goals. Enough was enough. And the signings that Brownie made in Jolly, he was like fighting for my place, and he was just tremendous. I thought he was really good. And also, just to say about Jolly, like, he was always in training half hour before. He was always well behind, like trying to get better and better, and which he was. He was progressing really, really quickly. So yeah, fair play to him for that.
Yeah, he did have a great season that season. I think he joined us from Kingstonian, didn't he, Stu? And it was a bit of a left field one for us, I think, when he first joined. But
that's right, yeah.
As you say, in fairness to him, yeah, that season he was inspired, really. But was Terry kind of just being honest with you and saying that was the situation he's going with these players? And
well, I think I started the first couple, didn't I? And then he was always bringing me off for Jolly, and then it sort of swapped. But I remember it being around, I think it must have been like November or early December. He rang me, Terry Brown, one night and said, basically, he said he'd never play again. That's what he said.
Right.
And he asked if I wanted to be up for sale, go up for sale in January, and or he asked if I want to go on loan, or he even said I could go back to work and not have to train if I wanted to. Whatever I wanted, the club was willing to let me do, which was quite nice. But the truth is, all I wanted to do was play. But so that's why I didn't want to leave, because I had a good feeling. I had a good feeling that season with that team, and I didn't want to leave. And so that's why I decided to go out on loan. Yeah.
So was it yours in that case then? It probably wasn't, because you went out to Dartford, didn't you, on loan?
That's right. Yeah, I went.
So was that call from Terry a surprise in terms of you're not going to play again? Because it's quite a sharp message, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Did you sense that was coming, or were you a little bit disappointed that he was that blunt, or cold with that?
I was very disappointed and gutted, because I thought I could still score some goals, but obviously just in my position, and which he had no interest in playing a two up top, did he? So I mean, I suppose I was always a good sub, but I think, I don't know. He obviously had other ideas, old Terry Brown. So yeah.
So how did you get on at Dartford? Because I must admit, I tried to do some research today on Dartford, but it ain't easy trying to find out. How did loan move go? Because it's obviously, I imagine, coming from the conference where you're fighting to get into that team that you said you didn't want to leave. Did the loan move really not work out at all for you? Yes, that's difficult. Not
really. It didn't really. I thought it would be easy. I thought I could just go down there and score loads of goals. It wasn't easy. I got a bad knee injury, didn't I, as well, and which I didn't really recover from, looking back. And didn't really work out at Dartford. I didn't enjoy it so much. When I left Wimbledon, it hurt. So it was hard to get back. I even think I cut my loan short spell myself and tried to go down Dover, and that was even worse. So
yeah, because I see you went to Dover, 29th of March. Because I was reading through, just familiarising myself, and you were back one day and back out Dover the next. So obviously that's what you did, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just tried something else, and it just that was even worse. As I say, I went to go training on Tuesday night, and it said 66 miles down the road, and I was just thought, no, I can't do this anymore. So
Dover's just full of hills, isn't it? So if you're going to do your training, that'd be a nightmare.
I used to ring up Dover and say I was gone training with Wimbledon, and I used to ring up Wimbledon and say I was going training with Dover. And I'd stay at home. So, as you can see, my heart was gone by then. So yeah,
I think there's a few players that probably in the same boat. I think, especially more so perhaps a bit lower down the pyramid, but players that come to play for us and huge crowds, huge history of the club and everything like that. And I guess it must be hard once you leave you can't replace that, I guess. And I
did struggle. I didn't like it. And I've asked the question to like Alan Inns. I just asking him how he felt after once he left, and I think he was fine with it. But as I say, I didn't like it. I struggled a bit with it. The other side of that is the income as well, because I didn't have nothing to go back to. Whereas Alan Inns was always a teacher. He didn't go full time, did he? And whereas I did for a year and a half or 2 years, and then it was sort of all at once. I got no football, and then I need to sort my life out with a job. So it was quite hard.
Because that's quite interesting, because we don't really look at that really, because when we went, if I remember correctly, Conference South, we made the decision to go full-time. Or was it so many weeks, I think Terry did? He didn't do a 52-week. Did he do like something like 40-week or something, if I remember properly?
Oh, what? We've got paid. It was always 40 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I suppose, in a way, as fans, we don't look at that. We just go, we're moving up the league, we're going to become more professional.
Yeah.
I suppose that was a no-brainer for you to leave what you were working with at the time to go full-time. But you do hear a lot of stories where you've got players in the conference that don't want to go full-time because they don't want to give up their full-time job. And if I remember properly, Lee Minshall, when he joined us, was similar, where he didn't want to give up his full-time role. So you've obviously seen the flip side to that, where it actually can be quite a gamble, can't it?
It is a gamble, and and people need to be aware of this, because, as I say, it wasn't nice when you leave football like that and you ain't got nothing to go to. So I don't know really. When I got offered the chance to go full time, I snatched at it, because I thought you don't get this often in life. So it's different for other people who already had careers, but tough.
So what are you up to now?
Now I finished in March, but I was going to college every weekend, 2 weekends off, 2 weekends on, for the past, I think it was 18 months, studying to become an electrician. So I am now a fully qualified electrician.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And
15 years too late, but yeah, I've done it.
Is that working? Are you working for yourself, or are you?
I'm self-employed, but yeah, I've managed to. I've got a good little job at the minute, so all is good. And I even started playing football again. So yeah.
Is that Wellington?
Yeah, Wellington. Yeah, one of my old best mates, Richard Dimmock, who was a good footballer. He's manager, and he managed to talk me into getting my boots out again. So. And
I'm guessing you're enjoying that. Yeah, that's starting to feel like the old times a little bit.
I am enjoying it. Yeah, I don't even know what league we're in, to be honest, but. We play at Thamesmead Towns Ground, which is not bad, and is only 5 minutes from my house. So they're doing the right things. They want to get up. They want to sort of get up to the Kent League, Ryman South sort of level, which they will by the way they're doing things. And that I've no doubt we'll win the league this year with the team we got and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really good.
And are you still in touch with any of the old? Apart from Keds, I guess. Obviously, you mentioned Mickey Haswell. Anyone else you're still in touch with, or is there anyone still involved with Wimbledon that you're still in touch with?
Only Bassy, really. I send a few texts now and again. Danny Kidwell actually started a WhatsApp group today for the playoff promotion side. He wants to try and get a little get-together in February. Yeah, nice. So that was quite nice. So everyone's on the same WhatsApp group now. So we'll see if we can get you involved that night in Covent Garden, wherever it is.
Yeah, we can pop down to that, I'm sure, if we can. Pop down, grab a word with some of that lot. Funny enough, speaking about that squad leads us nicely on to talking about some of your ex-players, or ex-teammates, I should say. We've got a new game on the podcast this year. We call it Play With, Sleep With, Avoid. I'm going to give you 3 names. I'd just like you to tell us which one you'd most like to be in the same team with, which one you'd most like to share a hotel room with on an away trip, and which one you'd just stay well away from. And your 3 names are Elliot Godfrey, Mickey Haswell, and Luke Garrard.
Ooh, 3 of my good mates there, yeah. I wouldn't want to avoid any of them. Share a room with would be Stig. Funniest man in the change room ever. Avoid, I probably would have to go with Goddard. He's a bit cranky.
Fair enough.
He's a bit wild, old Goddard. You never know what he's going to do. So, yeah, even though I love him. Yeah, and Haswell for...
You play with Haswell,
yeah.
so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just very quickly, while you talk about Lou Garrard, did you ever really think that he would go and become a manager? So he's doing a great job at Boreham Wood at the moment.
100%. He was always going to be a manager for me, but he done it a lot sooner than I thought he would, yeah. And I'm pretty sure he will go very, very high in the game.
Because he was very good technically. He was a great player for us at the level we were. But I just sometimes, I don't know about you, obviously you know him an awful lot better than we do, but I still find it very difficult to listen to him and think he's not going to crack a joke when he tries to do his after-match interviews. But you can imagine him, he'd have a dressing room behind him, wouldn't he? He's he's a very likeable character, but also respected as well.
Yeah, I asked Goddard because he went and played for him for a little while, and Goddard didn't like it. He said, "Nah, he's changed and all that. He's different and all that." Because obviously he's seen the side of him as a player. But I would like to be a fly on the wall in one of his dressing rooms. I would, yeah. I really can't imagine it myself, but I'm guessing he has changed. So
remind him what he was like when he was a player.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be looking at him in the corner and go, "Well, you didn't do that. What are you doing?"
Yeah. But you know what? There are some players that almost have that personality which you immediately link to being a manager. So I'm thinking down the years, players such as maybe a Ben Judge, for instance, might be a player that gives that impression that they might be a managerial type. But actually, looking back, I mean, Stu, you look back, Gareth Ainsworth, I don't think we'd ever have thought he'd be a Football League manager.
Nah.
Sammy Moore.
Oh, yeah, Sammy Moore, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, were you with just the one season, wasn't it, with Sammy at Wimbledon?
That's right.
You'd have had, yeah. But did he strike you as a managerial type?
No.
No.
It didn't strike me as the type whatsoever. Yeah.
So it's just no way of judging, I guess. No way, but...
No, and he loves his football and then he does his coaching school, so I think for him he's far too young, but I hope it works out well for him. He seems to be enjoying it.
Would you ever go into management? I can imagine you and Danny Kidwell as the dream team.
Joint managers.
Well,
could you imagine what sort of team you would put out?
we always said, we'll be back here as managers at Wimbledon. That's what we always used to say. The way you lot are progressing at the minute, I doubt that'll ever happen. So. But I wouldn't want to be a number one. I would more of a batty role, really. But yeah, I'd have to go and do my badges because I've never done them. So
I'm sure we could find a spot for you at Kingsmeadow if you ever did decide to go down that route.
I'll wait till Bass is in charge and I'll come back.
Could have Bass, Kettle and yourself running the show. That'd be something. I forget that Bassy was, of course, he stepped in for a little bit, didn't he, as boss?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, for a few games. But thank you very much, mate. We've got one more quick game to play with you, if we may.
Okay.
Very quick either or. I'm just going to give you some either or questions, and it's quick as you can. First answer that comes into your head.
All right.
Sound all right?
Go on in.
I won't stitch up with any of these, I promise. But we'll start with Mayweather or McGregor.
McGregor.
John Bon Jovi or John Pertwee.
John Bon Jovi.
Costa or Starbucks.
Costa.
Game of Thrones or Homeland.
Game of Thrones.
Tunbridge Angels or Charlie's Angels.
Tunbridge.
Harry Forrester or Philippa Forrester.
Harry Forrester.
Marmite, love or hate.
Love.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
Horse-sized duck.
Horse-sized duck. Alexa Bliss or Paige?
Paige.
And finally, when you make a cup of tea, do you put the bag first or the milk first?
Bag.
Yeah. There's always a bit of a moment of panic when I ask that question, that somebody, James Shea, for example, might say milk first.
Ooh.
It's not right, is it?
No.
Do you know anyone that puts the milk first?
No, I don't. I got brought up the right way.
We interviewed him Nick interviewed him a little while ago, and you could tell the moment he said milk first, he knew he'd made the wrong choice. And since then, we've not let him forget about it.
Brilliant.
I actually have, with all due respect to James, I do have a policy of not talking to anyone that says milk first. I cut them out, so... Thankfully, John, as you say, we have been raised correctly. We know that the bag goes first. There we go.
Exactly.
Anyway, John, thank you very much for your time.
No worries, thank you.
Much appreciated, and we'll see you at Kingsmeadow on the 22nd of September.
22nd, I'll be at the bar early doors.
So last week, my brother Chris correctly, with the help of the anagram clue, got to our answer of Luke Moore. This week, Stu, Jimmy Abdu has met up for a cup of coffee with a former Wimbledon player that Jimmy mistakenly thought was now a WWE wrestler, and therefore he made a wasted journey to Orlando before returning to Heathrow.
So, me thinking there's only one player that lives out now in America, and I know that because we interviewed him, which is Mark DeBola. Would you be that stupid, though, to let me? Or have you sold me down a garden path, which you probably have?
Not really.
I'll go for Mark DeBola.
Well, remember, Jimmy mistakenly thought it was a WWE wrestler, and his journey to Orlando was wasted because there was no one there for him. So it's not going to be Mark DeBola, but we'll carry on.
Guess gone.
Okay, this player, he bridged gaps between rivals because he played not only for ourselves, but for Crystal Palace and Brighton and Hove Albion as well.
WWE character, which could have been a big character, which could be someone like Neil Shipley, although he didn't play for Brighton, though. Or did he? Oh, who played for Brighton as well? There was a player who did play for Brighton as well.
Good logic, though.
Yeah, but not Palace as well. I'm trying to think. We did have a player that did go on to go and play for Palace as well. So let me think. Who did we bring across? Andy Thorne played for both. I don't think Neil Shipley played for Brighton, but I'm going to go just because of WWE, and he's a big lump now, bless him. Neil Shipley.
Neil Shipley, okay. Well, she'll reveal it after this clue. You might change your mind after the final clue. Now, whilst Jimmy was chatting to this former player of ours, this ex-player revealed to Jimmy that for Wimbledon, he played 99 fixtures, but medals just one. Basically, 99 appearances, and he won a trophy.
So Neil Shipley didn't win a trophy with us. That's that guy.
He didn't.
Damn. So Andy Thorne did play for Palace, but I don't think he went to Brighton. Oh, no, but he did win a trophy. Of course, the famous one. You've done well on this one, haven't you?
It's a good game, this. It's a good game. You're making you think. There's somebody or people out there that will get it from the first clue because they'll be WWE fans, but...
Yeah. So that's why I think Andy Thorne, but there's no link to a WWE. That's what worries me. Andy Thorne. Andy Thorne?
It's not Andy Thorne. But you still have the anagram clue, which is UN Ice Orgy. Don't know if you've ever been to a UN Ice Orgy, but they're not as fun as they sound.
Ice Orgy. Nice. Eric Young?
Yay! I think you're writing these down now.
No, I'm not. I've only got the anagram, but the anagrams are a lot easier when I know the players' names rather than locations of grounds that I don't even know what the names of them are anymore.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. But yes, it is Eric Young, would you believe, who is also the name of a current WWE NXT wrestler.
Is he really? See, I don't really understand wrestling.
No, I know.
It's a silly game
But,
or event.
Right. I don't think Alexa Bliss is particularly silly, but you know. Right, we are rapidly running out of time this week, so let's talk about the Doncaster game on Saturday. They travelled to Kingsmeadow for the first time as AFC Wimbledon. Are we playing Doncaster Rovers? But let's not put it at that thread right now. They have 1 win and 2 draws from their first 3 games in the league. They are likely to be tired, however, following their Milk Cup game with Hull on Tuesday night, in which I believe Will Mannion got a start for Hull, who I'm very careful in how I pronounce that because I struggle to say the word without it sounding like Hull or whatever. Anyway, John Marquis and Alfie May have got 2 goals each for Doncaster so far. They've got, I think, 6 in the league in total, so they're scoring goals. They're letting in a few as well. Marquis scored 26 times in League 2 last season. So, Stu, what type of threat does he pose us? Is he a poacher? Is he a all-round player?
He gets a mixture of goals. He's quite decent with his feet, so he is 6'1", but he's quite a big. He's a unit, but he's not a battering ram as such. He's doing quite well. It's interesting when you look at he was at Millwall from progressing from the U team, had 9 loan moves before he finally found home in Doncaster, which is strange because he's a South London boy.
I was going to say, was he the Billericay non-league in that? Is that the one? Is that the right one?
No, he was. I'm trying to think now where he went. He went to Leighton Orient this last season, last season before Doncaster, because he obviously got the move and done well in League 2. I'm not too sure he went to Billericay, but he's done his time. He got a handful of games for Millwall in each season, but predominantly done loan moves. Interesting when I say about 9 loan moves, because he could be someone like we've got our own Kwesi Appiah now, who has finally found a base rather than being a loanee somewhere. So sometimes players do need to go somewhere they can call home, and he's certainly doing that. So I think he's not going to be a battering ram. Whereas Hay, the funny thing is, when you talk about Hay, I actually really like...
Or May.
May. Well, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? Alfie May, sorry. I do like the name Alfie as well. It's a great name.
What's it all about, Stu?
I know. I look forward to seeing him, though, because he's a bit of a scruff. Last season, I remember seeing a lot of goals. He tends to get his head in where he shouldn't, i.e. where he's going to get his head hurt. Scores goals with his head, quite brave. I like him. I've seen quite a lot last year on the goals highlights, and he was always getting I suppose the old traditional centre-forward goals that you call just getting yourself into where you should do. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. But yeah, I think they provide a threat. They've scored, like I say, 3 at Blackburn, 3 at home to Blackpool. They like goals. We don't score goals. So what can we predict for Saturday?
Well, you know that with that, always what happens is that we end up winning something like for 4-0 or something. But
I'll take that.
Would you really? I think I would as well. Just by chance. Yeah, I highlighted James Coppinger, who seems to be in there for years as perhaps their key man. But looking into it, I noticed last week we had Devante Cole at Fleetwood, son of former Premier League goal scorer Andy Cole, and this week we're playing Chris Kawonya's son, who has now joined Doncaster, I believe. Left Chelsea.
Yeah, and again, they've done quite a few loan deals as well. James Coppinger, though, he's clocked up 521 appearances. So I was looking. He's been at Doncaster for as nearly as long as AFC Wimbledon have been back in, started again. That's 2004 was when he got there.
That's mad. So when were they? Because they would have got promoted to the Football League around that time, wouldn't they? Around the turn of the millennium. So he's pretty much their Simon Bassey, for argument's sake.
And it's interesting because when I looked, I'm never too sure where he plays.
Doncaster.
Because I've seen him in a number. Obviously, what position on the pitch that he plays. And actually, looking at him, he's predominantly right midfield, centre midfield, and can play a right back. There's a very good website I go on, Transfer Market. It's called .co.uk. Really good, great stats. What it does, it actually shows the positions he's played throughout his career. And there's actually, I think the only position he's not played is, 2 positions. Left back and goalkeeper. He's played the whole way. So as he's got older, they moved him back to more of a defensive midfielding role. But what a career. He can play anywhere. So he's their captain, he's their main man, and I'm sure we'll probably see them qualities when we play him on Saturday.
And of course, I believe it's Darren Ferguson. We're talking about sons of famous ex-football figures. Darren Ferguson in the dugout. So that could be interesting, to be fair. But what is your prediction?
Goals.
I
don't know what.
I think there'll be goals, actually. I think we're going to break our hoodoo. Well, we have not scored at home since Rochdale back in March. So in the league, this is.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because this is a team coming up from League 2 who had a major stuttered at the end of the line. I remember they started to the finishing line last season, lost their last 4 games. So to come in League One and really hit the ground running is a testament to their squad. But I look at Doncaster at home, and no disrespect, they're the games that they're not a big team. They're not a big like a Blackburn, a Bradford, that sort of thing. To me, we should be beating a team like Doncaster with no disrespect intended for Doncaster. But it's a game we should surely be looking go in. That should be a win. So we need to, because this everyone's saying about it now. We've not scored for so many games. We've not got a home win. They're starting to build up, and it will only start putting pressure on a team that doesn't really need any additional pressure at the moment.
Scoreline then?
3-1 Wimbledon.
Oh, do you know what? I swear, every time I ask you, you always steal my prediction.
Really? You go for 3-1?
I had 3-1 in my head. Just because I feel similar to you, I think we will score. I think the floodgates will open once we get one, and I'm not certain of their defensive capabilities yet. I also think they've had a game midweek, which might well have an effect on their team. So, yes, I think they're undefeated in the league so far this season, so I think it's time they lost, and we shall turn our season or get our season rolling, because as you say, we need to, because we've got Blackpool away the following week, and then we've got Portsmouth and Blackburn. It's a bit of a tricky run until Gillingham visit us in early September, but there we go. Anyway.
You're looking that far ahead already to the easy game.
I'm always looking to see where we can get 3 points, but you're right, Doncaster at home is certainly a game you'd look at and put down as 3 points in the same way that Shrewsbury was, really. Updates from the game will be available on Twitter and Instagram at 9YRS Podcast as always, and there will be Facebook live videos to keep you posted with everything that's going on as well. So make sure you like us on Facebook, facebook.com/9YRS Podcast, to get notified once we have gone live. What other game will you be looking out for on Saturday in League One?
Yeah, there's 2 that I looked at was Oxford against Shrewsbury. Oxford are going into the game 5th, and Shrewsbury going into a 4th, and then Wigan have some visitors from Pompey. So even though Wigan are top of the league, Pompey are still 13th. But Pompey, decent squad this year. Pittman up front, I really, really like, and I think will be probably one of the top goal scorers this year. Just be interested to see how good are Wigan, because they could not run away with it. It's early days yet, but they have started really well, haven't they? So how good are they? This is a test for them at home to Pompey. They're up in Greater Manchester, as are Rochdale and Bury, who meet on Saturday, and that is my pick of the games. I think I've picked Bury pretty much every week for some bizarre reason, but I'm looking at 2 teams. Rochdale, certainly, who have started really poorly. Bury, who are still a question mark at this early stage, and I'm starting to fear a little bit for Rochdale, so I actually like them as a club, so I hope they start picking up and they stay up with us this season. Anyway, also on our social media this weekend, links to our Spotify playlist, and also remember to check out our website 9yrspodcast.org and read this week's essay, in which Kevin Boris literally discusses football parlance, or parlance. I'm never sure how to pronounce that word. I probably should learn, but then it's not like I'm a teacher or anything, so what does it matter? Before we finish off, I have some information to pass on regarding last week's show. I'm not sure if you were listening in, Stu, but we were discussing the choice of Sandhurst Town as our first fixture in the CCL as AFC Wimbledon and why they were chosen. Luke McKenzie contacted me, friend of the show. He was a guest on our show a little while ago, last season, if you scour the archives on YouTube. He still has my number, of course, from when I was leaving those cards in the phone box by Berlin Station. Anyway, Luke informed me that way back when he was speaking to the fixture secretary of the CCL, Alan Constable, and Luke took the opportunity to ask him why Sandhurst was chosen as our first game, and was told that the Combined Counties League knew the game would be rammed, and Sandhurst were the most stable and organised committee in the league, and they would be fine to host such a big game. He also said they wouldn't rinse us, and it would be a good experience. So read into that what you will. But it was a very, very good experience, as we discussed last week. So there you go. Thank you very much, Lukey, for that, and thank you, of course, to Sandhurst Town for hosting us on that day. Also, a heads up, the ladies' team, their season started last Sunday. Ended in a defeat, actually. Took us all a little bit by surprise. 3-1 to Ipswich at Gander Green Lane, despite taking the lead. This Sunday, they are going to be visited by a certain team from Buckinghamshire. Free entry, of course, to the ladies' games at Sutton United at Gander Green Lane. I think it's 2 o'clock kickoff on the Sunday, so if you can make it down there to support our ladies, please do. Also, next Thursday, I know we're a week ahead, but no point in telling you this on next week's show, because you might not be listening to it until the weekend or whatever. So next Thursday, the 31st of August, there is a Don's Trust special general meeting at Kingsmeadow. 7:30pm kickoff. It's open to questions to the Don's Trust board and Eric Samuelson. He's going to be answering questions on whatever you wish to raise, and there'll be reports as well on the progress of the stadium, and a report from the Football League AGM, which I think was held in Portugal. So if you can make it down there, if you're a Don's Trust member, make your way down to Kingsmeadow next Thursday.
Right, off we go. Thank you once again for listening, and please remember to like us and subscribe to us, whether you're listening to us on iTunes or YouTube. If you're listening through our website, 9yrspodcast.org, feel free to leave a comment underneath and tell us what you think. But otherwise, that's us done for this week. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Stu, for joining me.
Thank you.
And join us next week when we'll be talking with Stevenage's Chief Steward, Mr. Fill Them Up. We'll be talking about the things you can keep in your undergarments. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, and we'll speak to you again next week.